Are you wondering which TSi fairway wood you should be putting in play? Today we're going to be running through all three models to see the differences in performance and help you decide which one would suit your game. So we're in the Titleist fitting bay here at the Belfry now, and we're just going to run through all three fairway wood models and look at the data on TrackMan. We're going to be looking at the ball flight, the carry distance and the spin in particular to see what the differences are between the three models and who each one might suit. Okay, so there were some pretty big differences there in terms of trajectory. The TSi 1 was launching at over 95 feet on average, which is definitely pretty high, especially when you compare it to the 2 and the 3, which were down in the mid to high 70s. Now, this high ball flight is definitely great for people who need the extra launch, but I already hit it pretty high, so that would be probably a little bit too high for me out on the golf course. In terms of spin, this was also up in the high 3000s, which would definitely be pretty hard for me to control, but I think it does show just how easy this is to launch for other golfers who need that. In terms of the differences between the 2 and the 3, it wasn't huge. I did like the slightly smaller head of the 3 behind the golf ball, and I also got a few extra yards out of this. It was carrying at 212 on average. I also found that the distance was a little bit more consistent in terms of front to back with the TSi 3, which was really why I ended up choosing that model. I think when you move across the three models, you could really see how the ball flight changed from that really high floaty shot in the 1 down to a more penetrating flight in the 3. So it's definitely something to consider if you're trying to pick between the three. That's how they've performed on the range. Let's go see what they do out on the course. So now we've tested the fairway woods out on the range and had a bit of a fit in, I really want to see how they perform on the course, because really that's where you're going to put them into play. Now what I've decided to do is hit this really easy shot over a lake on the 18th at the Belfry with a fairway wood off the deck. Yeah, this could be interesting. Now first up I'm going to go with the TSi 1. I'm hoping to make this a bit easy for myself. This is meant to be the easiest to launch, so hopefully it's going to make this shot a little bit less intimidating. And I'm really interested to see just how high this flies, because that is definitely one of the benefits which is going to help a lot of people. This definitely feels pretty lightweight. I've got quite a lightweight shaft in this compared to the other two just because it works best with this head. Definitely a really great club to use in this scenario. I launched that so easy and it really just felt comfortable to flight it over that water. I had a really good distance on that too. In fact, I think it might have slightly just run through the back. But let's go ahead and hit the other two models and see how they compare in terms of flight and distance. Now in terms of visuals, I've got the 2 here and it's almost identical in shaping over the ball. It's really quite hard to tell them apart, which I think is definitely good because you're not giving anything up in terms of looks. You're not really having to pick one model on looks. You're just getting the performance that you need out of the different models. Now I've got a different shaft in this, which is the one I've been fitting to, and this is a 55 gram Reg Flex, but all three models I've got are in a 15-degree head, so that's the same running through all three models. Now you could definitely see that was a much more penetrating flight, which would definitely be more suitable for me in general. It also felt really nice off the face, the same as the 1. In terms of shot shape, again it was pretty straight, I just had a nice little fade on there. Right, let's move into the 3 now. This was the head I was fitting to, so it's going to be interesting to see the differences. So I've got the same shaft in this as the 2 and also the same amount of loft on this. But I would say here the club head does look slightly smaller, and I do really like that over the ball because I just think it sits really compactly and it gives me quite a lot of confidence that I can swing at it. Now it's interesting because even though this is the smallest head, this is the one that I actually hit the straightest there and felt the most controlled. I would say it was probably slightly lower than the 2 as well, but not excessively. So you can see throughout the range how even though say the 2 might be a bit bigger and meant to be more forgiving, it really kind of does depend on your swing and which one you like the visuals of. So for me, this one works really nicely. Definitely some pretty noticeable differences across the range there. It was interesting because the TSi-1 actually went the furthest, but for me I probably wouldn't put it in play just because of that higher spin and the high launch, because I already launched the ball pretty high already. In terms of the 2 and the 3, they weren't that dissimilar, but I did get a few extra yards out of the 3, and for me I really liked the visual of that smaller head. Both of these launched a bit low, which definitely suited me more, and the spin was almost identical. In terms of controlling out on the course, really between the 2 and the 3, I just felt like I could control the 3 more, and ultimately that was why I decided that that one would suit me the best. But the high launching and soft landing of the TSi-1 was super impressive out on these greens onto the 18th, and I really did love that, and I think it's going to suit so many golfers this year. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below or drop me a line on Twitter or Instagram. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more.